statistics and information on best practices. Oh, whoa, it's going ahead. Let's move that. Sorry about that. Okay, well, the slide jumped ahead, apologies. We also provide resources, which is the thing that most people are interested in, and that's both grants and training and technical assistance. The Bureau of Justice Assistance has the broadest portfolio within the Office of Justice Program, so it includes things like the Justice Assistance Grant Program that you're probably familiar with, body-worn camera solicitation, which just came out last week, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, and going away from grants, the Public Safety Officers Benefits Program, which provides a one payment, a lump sum payment to families of officers killed in the line of duty or officers that are severely disabled in the line of duty. In fact, a new rule for PSOB just hit the Federal Register today. All right, we're continue to have some technical issues, but for the interest of time, I'm going to move ahead, and again, you'll see the whole presentation. After Bureau of Justice Statistics, we have Bureau of Justice Assistance. We have Bureau of Justice Statistics, which is the name indicates, is a primary data gathering arm of the department, and that they're best known for the National Crime Victimization Survey, which along with the FBI's Uniform Crime Reports are the two primary ways we measure violent crime in the United States. Then we have the National Institute of Justice, which is a primary research. Okay, we're catching up now. Thank you. Which is primary research and development arm of the Department of Justice. They support efforts such as body armor. They also invest heavily in DNA and forensics. Then we have the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. They provide mentoring funds to states and local communities. They support juvenile justice improvement. And they also support things such as Amber Alert and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Then we have our Office for Victims of Crime. They administer funds through the Crime Victims Fund, which is money collected through asset forfeiture and through fines. They support projects such as elder abuse. They also support victims of financial terrorism, also victims of mass violence and international, both here and abroad. Finally, we have our SMART office, which works to improve state sex offender monitoring and registration, and to share information across America. Now I'm going to hit on some of our key priorities. Sorry, this thing is driving me nuts. Some of the key priorities of this department and this administration. The first is the law enforcement safety and wellness. As you know, this is finally, here we go. This is Police Week, which I'll touch on later. We have a number of efforts to support officer safety and wellness, as does our colleagues in the COPS office. Another priority is fighting the opioid abuse epidemic. In fact, we just put out a solicitation for the Combating Opioid Abuse Assistance Program, so we urge you to check that out. Project Safe Neighborhoods, it's a comprehensive anti-gang violence and gun crime program. That solicitation is upcoming. We have several efforts to combat human trafficking, both the Bureau of Justice Assistance and our Office of Victims of Crime, along with our Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, work on aspects of these issues, including both law enforcement and victims. I'm going to skip the Prison Rape Elimination Act because that's self-explanatory, and move on to Sentinel Events, which is a blame-free way that we can look at and learn from mistakes in the criminal justice system. That's done by our National Institute of Justice. Key websites, ojp.gov, that's our overall website. The next one you'll see goes to our open solicitations. Grants.gov covers the whole department. And then ojp.gov/Police Week is our new Police Week page that ties all our resources together. And then finally, you have my contact information. Thank you for listening and for bearing with me through these technical difficulties. And now I will turn things over to my colleague at the COPS office, Shannon Long.
Hi there, thank you, Adam. As Adam said, I am with the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, or as we are commonly referred to, the COPS office. And we are an agency, you can see here on the org chart for the department, we, similar to OJP, answer to the Associate Attorney General, who answers to the Deputy Attorney General, who answers to the Office of the Attorney General. So this just gives you a picture of where we are represented within the overall Department of Justice. And then just quickly about the COPS office, we were created in 1994, the big crime bill that created our office along with the Office on Violence Against Women. Our mission is to advance public safety through community policing. And I won't read through all of the bullets here because you have them in front of you, but some of the highlights, we've invested more than $14 billion in funding, primarily through the hiring of police officers. We used to have a very robust technology program, and we, of course, support crime prevention initiatives. And we provide training and technical assistance on a variety of topics. We have funded the hiring of more than 130,000 additional police officers, and we've provided grants to 13,000 of the nation's 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the country. For Illinois, since 1994, we have awarded nearly $550 million to agencies throughout the state, funding for 6,000 police officers and sheriff's deputies to 717 different agencies within the state. Some people, we would hope at this day and age people know what community policing is, but if you don't, it's basically a philosophy that promotes organizational strategies that support the systematic use of partnerships and problem-solving techniques to proactively address the immediate conditions that give rise to crime. To drill that down is simply building relationships to solve problems. That's basically the essential philosophy around community policing. And you can see here the three components are community partnerships, organizational transformation, and problem solving. Now, what you're probably most interested in is the money that we're going to be putting out the door this year. Our fiscal year 2018 budget includes, and it's the right-hand column, you can see there, $149.5 million for the hiring program, $30 million for our Tribal Resources Grant Program, $10 million for community policing development, $25 million for a new school violence prevention program, $8 million for anti-meth task forces, $32 million for anti-heroin, $10 million for active shooter training, and $36 million for OJP's regional information sharing transfer. So for a total of $300.5 million for the COPS office in fiscal year 2018. You can see we had increases in virtually every funding category that we have. Moving forward, to talk about the COPS hiring program, this really is our bread and butter. It's what the COPS office is most known for. We provide 75% of the approved entry-level salary and fringe benefits of community policing officers. You can use the grants to hire new officers. You can rehire officers that have already been laid off, or rehire or prevent layoffs that are happening at a future date. And last year, 2017, you can see we made 179 awards to fund 802 officers. So like I said, this is the biggest program that we have. It is our bread and butter and what we're most known for. Another program that's become increasingly popular in our office is the Community Policing Development Grant Program. I won't go into full detail about it, but there is something that local law enforcement is eligible to apply for, and that's the micro grant initiative. And the goal here is to provide seed money for innovative community policing projects. So one example that I have in Salt Lake City, Utah, they had a very progressive project where the local law enforcement, the police department was working with business owners to help resolve some of the issues around homelessness and how it's impacting downtown business. So that just gives you an idea of the kind of projects that we would fund through the micro grants. Big new one for us this year, both us and OJP received significant funding through the Stop School Violence Act. Those programs are still in development, so there's not a lot that we can share other than we're coordinating on program development. When the solicitations open, you're going to see a very robust program that is going to lead, the intention is to prevent school violence. The COPS office part, you can think of it in terms of target hardening. Metal detectors, locks, lighting, and then there are some training components there as well. So that one is going to be opening later this summer, but keep an eye out on it because it is new, and the applicants are actually going to be units of local government. So the police department wouldn't be applying; it would be the city or the county. The anti-meth and anti-heroin programs, I won't spend a lot of time on because only states are eligible. But what I would do is encourage you, if either of these are issues in your community, to reach out to the state, either the Department of Justice or the state police, to see if they are going to be applying for this program and how you as local jurisdictions could be able to take advantage of any of those task forces. Quickly coming to the end here, I encourage everyone to look up our collaborative reform initiative for technical assistance. This is something we provide technical assistance on a range of topics free of charge. So you just go into the website and put in a request. We will screen it and hopefully be able to provide you with some technical assistance. Timeline, we had our budget enacted in March. We have a handful of grants that are open now: community policing development, anti-heroin, and anti-meth. And the deadlines are June 7th for community policing development and June 27th for anti-heroin and meth. So as always, I encourage you to go to our website for those details. We have a variety of resources that are available free of charge on very specific public safety issues. And then here's the contact information. We have our response center, which is more or less our call center, and then that's my contact information. So if there's anything that I didn't address here, please feel free to reach out. And then we will turn it over to our colleague at OVW.
Great. Thank you. Hi, my name is Kathy Poston. I'm an attorney advisor at the Office on Violence Against Women. Our office, the mission of our office is to provide federal leadership in developing the nation's response to what we call the 4 VAWA crimes: domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. We implement grant programs authorized under the Violence Against Women Act. And I am having problems moving my slides. If someone could move them for me.
Yep, is this the one?
Thank you. Perfect,
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So the Violence Against Women Act was passed back in 1994, and it's been subsequently reauthorized in 2005 and 2013. We administer both formula grant programs and discretionary grant programs. Our formula grant programs are our largest formula grant program is our Stop Violence Against Women formula grant program. Each state gets a set amount according to the population. The money goes to a state stop administrator, who then in turn makes awards according to a formula with a certain percentage going to law enforcement agencies within the state, victim service providers within the state, courts within the state, and prosecutors' offices within the state. They can do specific activities that are laid out in statute. What I should emphasize about the Violence Against Women Act, when Congress authorized these grant programs, they were very specific in which organizations, which types of organizations were eligible for which grant programs, and they were very specific in what types of activities could be funded under the grant program. Certainly our Stop Violence Against Women formula grant program is our broadest grant program and permits states to distribute funds by way of subawards to, as I mentioned, prosecutors' offices, law enforcement agencies, victim service providers, and courts. And activities can include everything from the provision of victim services to covering salaries to creating specialized units, to creating policies, protocols. There's a very broad range of activities that can be funded under the Stop Violence Against Women formula grant program. Very similar formula grant program addressing sexual assault. And then we have our coalitions grant program that goes to coalitions within each state and tribal coalitions to help leverage funds to support victim service providers in those states. Our discretionary grant programs cover a wide range of either activities like our legal assistance for victims grant program, or focus on a specific type of victim, like our grant program that focuses on improving the response to individuals who are victims who also have either developmental or physical disabilities, or our elder abuse grant program. Our improving criminal justice response grant program goes to units of local government to assist them in improving the response to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. That grant program is really focused on training as well as creating specialized units. So this gives you a slide on doing such a disservice to the particulars of these grant programs, but you'll see there's a very wide range of activities or grant programs that cover different specified interventions to not only hold offenders accountable, but also to ensure that victims are getting the services that they need. The next slide gives an idea of some funded activities. Can focus on everything from court improvement, training for judges, law enforcement. We can support positions, training for law enforcement, specialized law enforcement officers or detectives. Some of our grant programs have a prevention or education component. Some are much more focused on the provision of direct services. In the next slide, it's a focus on the types of populations that the grant programs might focus on. And the next slide then focuses on, it's just sort of a list of the different types of organizations that are eligible under the different grant programs. I think what's important to recognize is that we post our solicitations, annual solicitations, and right now we only have 4 that are currently open. Our STOP solicitation, our coalition solicitation, our tribal governments solicitation are currently open. So while our FY 2018 solicitations for the discretionary programs are closed, we always encourage anyone who's interested in our grant programs to take a look at the past fiscal year solicitation, because you'll get an idea of what types of materials need to be submitted with an application package. You'll also get sort of an overview of the grant program. As one of my colleagues mentioned, that trafficking is a priority for the Justice Department, and a couple of our FY 2018 solicitations had a priority of the trafficking of organizations that wanted to address trafficking. If you could switch to the next second slide. Next one, please. Thank you very much. Where to find our OVW funding opportunities. Like other components, our funding opportunities are available through grants.gov, but also we have solicitations, information about open solicitations, as well as links to our closed solicitations on our website. We also encourage interested organizations to follow us on Twitter at OVW Justice, because we announce information about when solicitations are open, as well as other activities with the office. We always also encourage organizations that are interested in applying for our funding to look at our how to apply tips on our website that gives some more information. Next slide, please. We want our grantees to do effective work, so we have a vibrant technical assistance program for our grantees, where we don't want grantees reinventing the wheel, so we make different awards to large membership organizations and large advocacy organizations. So a lot of information is publicly available on our ta2ta.org website. There's a list of not only OVW TA providers, some of the trainings, the materials, the policy, and best practices information that they've assembled is available on that website, as well as some of our TA events are open to potential OVW grantees. So we encourage organizations to take a look at that calendar. Next slide. Lastly, we require our grantees to file progress reports about all of their activities. Not only does it help us monitor our grantees, it also provides information for our statutorily mandated report to Congress. So I encourage you, if you're interested in really finding out what grantees are doing with our funds, to take a look at the, whether it's the STOP report to Congress or our biennial report to Congress on the effectiveness of grants under VAWA. That's the report on our discretionary grant programs. Not only the first half of that report sort of synthesizes research and information about what are effective interventions. It also then summarizes which of our grantees are engaged in those activities. The second half of the report to Congress is a separate chapter on each grant program. So you get a lot of grantees quotes, a lot of sort of very vibrant and rich information about what grantees are actually doing with our funds. That is a very short and very incomplete on the wide-ranging and really exciting work that is being done through our grant programs. But again, as my colleague did from the COPS office, my information is available on the next slide. So I encourage you, if you have more questions about the grant programs or would like me to walk you through our website, I'm available to do that, or some of my colleagues at OVW would be available as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. That's our presentation, so now all three of us are available for any questions.
Hey, Adam, I think we, in the interest of time, we're going to forward all of our questions after the fact to your emails if we do have anything coming from the presentation. Thank you so much.
Well, if anyone has any questions later, they can feel free to reach out to Greg, who will then relay it to us, and we'll get them answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Department of Justice. And thank you, everyone. I know we have one presentation standing between you and your lunches. So I want to welcome the Illinois Treasurer's Office. From that office, the Senior Advisor to Treasurer Mike Burks is Sarah Ryan.
Hello, everyone. It really is right up here. So I just wanted to very quickly go over a few programs that we have. The first is ePay, which is an electronic payment processing product. So if you're looking for a way to process payments online or through credit cards, and you're looking for something, we have a very affordable program, which is our ePay program. There's information outside on that. The second one is our Illinois Funds, which is a local government investment pool product. So if you're interested, I can talk more at length on that. But I know you guys are trying to get out of here. And then the last one, which is our most popular program, is our iCash program. We have $2.9 billion in unclaimed funds for individuals, governments, businesses. These are checks that are written that never get to where they're supposed to go, and they end up eventually being remitted to the government. We keep them forever. We keep that money forever, anytime you want to claim it. So we hope that you would go to our website, which is illinoistreasurer.gov, go to our iCash page, search yourself, search the government entity you work for, search any charitable organizations you're involved in. We are trying to return this money to folks, but sometimes it's a little harder than you would think. So please go online if you have any questions. Please come on and ask me. We're happy and we really want to get this money back to folks. So that is illinoistreasurer.gov, and that's our iCash program. And that's it.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for everybody coming out today. Thank you to all of our presenters and the staff of Congressman Schneider and Congressman Schakowsky. A quick plug on that, the unclaimed cash. We just found, or we were just told that there are $200,000 unclaimed by a federal agency. So please do check your time. There's a lot of money out there. So I appreciate everyone for coming out today. To be honest, we get to work with a lot of local governments and community organizations, and it's really exciting that people would come out here, spend a big part of their mornings with us. We're going to send out all the presentations. We have some resources out back. We've got a grants guide we wrote in our office that we'll be sending out. But seriously, if you have any questions for our bosses, you want to enlist their support, you want to show off some innovative work that's happening, we want to use our spotlight. We want to try to bring as many federal and state dollars back into communities as we can. So thank you again for coming out, and have a nice afternoon.